Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Isaiah 57 verses 1 and 2 says, "The righteous man perishes, and no man takes it to heart. A devout men are taken away, while no one understands. For the righteous man is taken away from evil, he enters into peace. They rest in their beds, each one who walked in his upright way." So here we see a description of the society in Isaiah's day, in which when the righteous were dying and devout people were being taken away, people didn't even notice. They didn't even care. And this basically shows two things. One, it shows the moral degradation of their society. Once a society gets to the point where they're no longer troubled by the fact that good people die young, or that moral people die prematurely. Whenever a society gets to the point where they don't even pay attention to the righteousness of individuals in their death, that's a pretty good indicator that there's not much morality left in that society. And so this demonstrates the moral degradation of the people of God at this particular point. But it also shows that they didn't understand the times. It says, "And devout men are taken away while no one understands." They should have been taken to heart the fact that these righteous people were dying, and it should have caused them to reflect on their position before God. Because what seems to be happening here, based on what Isaiah is saying, is that the Lord is taking the righteous prematurely to spare them of the troubles, the trials, the hardships that are to come. As he goes on to describe that they're taken away from evil, the latter part of verse 1, they enter into peace, they rest in their beds. The idea of they're going to be going in the path of peace through their death, but the wicked are going to be going in the path of destruction, hardship, trials, famine, you name it. And so they should have sat back and said, okay, what does this mean for us in our relationship with God? That God is basically harvesting the righteous and bringing them into a state of peace. What does that mean for us who are left over? And as we reflect on these verses and these statements by Isaiah, we should find some comfort in these verses, because as believers and as people who are following the Lord, sometimes we do become perplexed and wonder, how is it that the righteous can die prematurely? As we look around, perhaps we have loved ones who were faithful to the Lord, and yet they died tragically through maybe some type of accident or through some type of disease. And we begin to wonder, how could God allow this to happen? Well, these verses should bring us comfort in that it shows that when God calls home the righteous, he's really calling them into a state of peace. And he's kind of doing it for the sake of the righteous, to say, you know what, I'm going to spare you all the pain and the trials and the hardships that may lay ahead for this individual, and I'm going to bring them into a state of peace. Even in our New Testament reading in Philippians chapter 1, the Apostle Paul, who was imprisoned at the time, was kind of torn between the idea of dying or staying on the earth and working and laboring for his fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. And he said, it's better to be with Christ than to remain on the earth. Personally speaking, from a personal standpoint, it would be better for him to be with Christ. That is, to die and be with Christ and enjoy the peace and the pleasure that comes from that. But yet Paul had a love for the church and said, you know what, actually, I think I'm probably going to be staying here a little bit longer so that I can labor with you guys a little bit longer. But he shows that death is actually preferred over life for the righteous. And so we should be comforted when we contemplate and reflect on those righteous people, those good people who died young or died prematurely, to say, you know what, God is bringing them actually into a better state and bringing them into a state of peace, security, a place of eternal rest in which they will be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor throughout eternity. And that can comfort us when it comes to our loved ones or just people in general that we know about who die in righteousness. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.